Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends, welcome back to the Prodcast. Broadcasting to you from Two Ticks and the Dog Productions, up above Dave Grohl Alley, right down the road from Modern Methods Brewery. That's a hint, people.
That's a little hint.
We are giving you our first show. We are socially distanced and responsibly recording this podcast from the Two Ticks and the Dog studio, where we have reconfigured the studio to give us enough space so that our guest today and myself and my co-host Brandon, Brandon's actually way far away. He's way on the other side of the room. But our guest today and myself are at a minimum of 6 feet, probably about 8 feet away. Very interesting, which leads me into our sponsor of season 2, who also is doing some amazing stuff to socially distance and better evolve his business to meet the parameters and guidelines of COVID-19. And that sponsor is the one and only Coates Car Care. They have the finest automatic exterior washes. They also do interior, but right now they're only doing exterior washes. And here's a little plug for our own giveaway. If you sign up for your giveaway at theprodcast.net, that's all you got to do. And we will pull names out of the hat over the course of the next, 25 or 20, I don't know what episode this is, over the next several months. And once a week, someone will walk away with a free car wash. That's pretty dope.
Oh, just an email. That's it. You just go on there.
That's all you got to do. Well, I mean, we want you to go and subscribe on your favorite podcasting app, and then go to theprodcast.net, powered by MDI Studios. And all you got to do is fill in your giveaway, and we'll draw your name out of a hat. We had our first one the other day, and that was pretty sweet. And here's something else that Coates is doing. Besides being a leader in automatic car wash, and of course they have a service station at their flagship store in Niles, and they do detailing, and they do all kind of stuff, but they are really known for cleaning your car. They've got a location in Austintown. They have one in Cortland, one in Howland. They have one in Niles, which I just mentioned is their flagship location, where they also have a great service station. You can get your oil change, etc. And they have a location in Hermitage, Pennsylvania. But they
Shout out to PA.
But they are now creating an app, and that'll be found in the App Store off your phone. And you can download that app. You can buy a car wash right from the app, and then go to the location of your choice, show your phone through the window. You don't have to roll the window down, and the person just scans your phone, and you're good to go. You're going to get a car wash.
It's completely hands-free.
So, you're evolving in the era of COVID-19. And what's interesting is we're here with a guest today. We've been trying to get on all season long last year. He finally made some time for us. He's been evolving his business as well,
right,
in the time of the coronavirus. And so going to be interesting to hear from Mr. Adam Keck, founder, owner, and brewer of Modern Methods Brewery. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, guys. It's exciting to be here.
Man,
sounds like we need to talk to Coates about maybe you get a beer with the wash. You drink it while your car gets washed.
Well, what's funny is he is actually a big fan of the beer. Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, both him and James Jr.
I think I may have met Junior.
We came in. Yeah. We came in. So any of you who are listening for the first time, if you go back in season 1, you know that Brandon and I are big fans of Modern Methods Brewery. It's right down the alley on Dave Grohl Alley, which is right behind both MDI Studios, which is Brandon's website company, and behind Two Ticks and the Dog. So it's kind of a nice little, hey, let's get a happy hour on a Thursday, Friday afternoon. You can walk down the alley and get some great beer, but up until a few weeks ago. And then obviously the coronavirus hit, and we've had some shutdowns. And Adam has changed his business, which was he's got a great tap room, which is kind of like a bar, basically, except it's just beer. There's no shots. There's no wine. There's no things of that nature. But he's got such an incredible selection of beers that you'd be able to go down there and hang out and have some beer. But now business has changed. how's that been? Tell us what's happening.
Yeah, so we made our tap room. I kind of modeled it after a place that I would like to drink beer and the types of beer that my head brewer Jeff and I like to drink. And so, that really sustained us over our first 2 years. Like, the amount of beer that we brew isn't quite enough to be able to build a business, or, hadn't been at least up to now. Build a business on wholesale only, which is lower margins, cans, bottles, to grocery stores or carry out and all that. But yeah, then this thing happened that made us rapidly restructure pretty much overnight. And so, yeah, we went from, I would say, like 60% of our beer being sold through that tap room. That's high margin. We're able to keep our costs low on the beer and serve it right over the bar, make all that nice margin that bars really like to make, to, oh shit, what do we do with all this beer?
The oh shit, Corona, the oh shit moment.
Yeah. And, got on a call with our can supplier. We'd been doing, smaller batches or smaller canning runs, usually about 1,000 or 1,500 at a time, and basically ordered 26,000 cans of or empty cans.
Wow.
To put in our storage, and then, man, we've been just slamming beer into those cans every day. It's labor intensive. We don't an entry level canning line's about $60,000. We don't have that at the moment, but we're super lean, efficient. We can get. It's kind of a long day. It's more just like factory work, but we've got a dedicated staff, like, just making a go of it. And this week it's like I've got a friend of mine, really talented. She's furloughed, so she's helping me with sales a little bit, and we're looking at our inventory, like, just crack that open a little bit, with a couple extra grocery store accounts, and we've started a delivery service, so you can hop on our website and get beer delivered to your front porch if you're in the Youngstown, Warren area or Cleveland area now, which we found that apparently people in Cleveland are really sick of all the great breweries they have up there because they've been ordering a bunch of ours.
That's a good problem to have.
D72,
Yeah, for sure.
we don't want them, but this one down in Warren, get it up here delivered now.
We're like, man, we're running out of beer already. Like, we might talk about Sweet Fart, our New England IPA release, like our first beer that we sold out of in 1 week. Like, we've got 8 4-packs next door right now.
Oh, so you have 4-packs left?
Got a couple.
I should have told you to bring some over. I called that, actually. I just want to say, I called that last week. And he released this beer, and I was like, man, I'm going to get some. I've been driving down, which has been really nice. And, of course, another good friend of ours, Barry Berkey, whose art hangs, resides here in the studio. He's a huge fan. And we're also, we've got a lot of buddies and stuff. And so Adam's been brewing beer for a long time now, but the brewery just celebrated its 2nd anniversary last week. Was it last week? And so, in that 2 years, everybody I've brought down who either no longer lives in Warren, but still has family here, or who I've taken beer to from out of town, is like, I got to where can I buy this?
Yeah.
And everyone has been impressed. My good friend George Beeren came from Chicago in the summer last year. He was like, folks, this fucking beer is amazing. And everyone that I've talked to that's had it has been great. So that's probably why these people in Cleveland, where there's great breweries up there too, they're probably like, they taste your beer and they're like, holy shit. This is what I've been missing out my whole life on.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. That's Brandon's
that's
clutch
key
phrase. Yeah, absolutely.
You said that you celebrated 2 years, but what was really fun is where my office is literally, I counted the steps once this place opened.
He's closer.
I literally counted the steps. It's about 24 adult steps from my office to my refreshment. And so every day I was just watching you guys in there. And when you go into this place, just to kind of give you guys a visual out there, this place, you've never been into it, you see, honestly, the labor of love that was put into this place. I mean, I understand, like, some bars are corporate looking, some bars, they maybe had this or that, but, like, the amount of work that I personally got to see every day walking into work, seeing you wipe your nose and from sandblasting, and I looked in this place and I'm like, what are you doing in here? And he's like, oh, I gotta just do all the wall. There was nothing in this place. This is gonna be a brewery, and I'm like, oh, like a storage area? And you're like, no, we're gonna have a bar here. And I'm like, all right, dude, I'm excited for you. And
then he walked out and he's like, this guy's never going to do
I'm
shit
like,
out.
what is going on?
Yeah.
I'm like, how long, you know, and then like 2 months later, I'd go check in and it was like, man, it was just more detailed, but not like I couldn't see the vision still. And then, man, I just remember that one day, I'm just sitting back in the back area, and this big semi truck comes, huge tanks. And then you just had these custom pieces that make the brewery just come in, and then, dude, the labor of love. To anybody that's ever been in there or hasn't been in there, this is a place that was built by the owner, was built by your owners and the staff, obviously, and people that genuinely had this dream of making this a reality. Not just, this is a cool place for this. This was a reality, like a dream come true. So just wanted to put that little description out there of this place.
Yeah. Well, it's a testament to Adam's hard work and certainly his organizational skills, because, you know, I've been fortunate enough, and I don't remember how far back, but I met Adam several years back, I mean, probably 6, 8 years back. And I'm not even sure how we...
Horseshoe.
Probably, yeah. A love of beer and a love of socializing. And somehow, I don't even know how, but I think somehow you brought some beer, I tasted some of your beer, I was like, wow, and you were home brewing at the time. And if anyone has ever done that, I'm actually doing this right now just so I can have a little bit of knowledge. And it's one of those kits, it's a Mr. Beer kit. You know, you don't have to do a whole lot, you mix the stuff. But even in that, there's a lot that kind of goes into it. But that's a kit. This is something where you're now designing your own flavors. You talk about Sweet Fart, where you brought this hop in from a South African hop that's a sweeter tasting hop, and, you know, all these different complex profiles, flavor profiles or water profiles, and all the science that goes into it. And so I've felt fortunate and been fortunate to kind of see the science behind it and to kind of pick your brain and think like, wow, there's some really amazing, as Brandon gets up to refill. Because I want to throw this in there. We're drinking some Panthertown, which will be a new release. We'll talk about that, which is another one of those beers that, how many beers do you have? Like 17, 18?
Yeah, at any time
flavors?
we've got, you know, in addition to our like bottled and canned beers, like 18 on draft. So...
And when we first met, he was had maybe 5 or 6 different kind of beers he was making. He'd try this porter, try this, and he was bringing these beers we'd have art exhibits through TAG fundraisers, through Trumbull Art Gallery, or fundraisers through. There's a group of us that formed an art group, a group of artists called the Independent Artists Association, and be like, hey, we're having this thing, man. Can we buy some beer off you? And you were so stringent to say, I might be doing a brewery later on, and I can't sell the beer to you, so I'll donate it to you.
Yeah.
Which was like the worst fucking mistake this guy can make, because every fundraiser that was like, hey, Adam, we're having poetry night. You think you could donate us some beer? You'd be like, oh, yeah.
Ready for write-off?
And here's the thing. I think it was a great service to building that brand early, because, again, it was one of those things where you're having this art exhibit and you got 200 people coming in, on a good show, or 300 people coming in on a good show. And people came from out of town. I had buddies coming in from Cincinnati, and they'd be like, dude, what's up with this beer, man? Where did you guys get this from? And I'd say, oh, it was my friend Adam brewed it, and he made it. And then they'd be like, man, this dude needs to fucking sell this shit. What's he doing? Why is he, and then it's turned into that. Walk us through that process. How did you go from home brewing with your dad to now you've got a brewery? You're listed as one of the 290 brewers in Ohio on Wikipedia.
Yeah, it's been a long road.
How long do you have, Jim?
Right. So I graduated from college. I went to Brown University in Rhode Island in 2009, and basically I fell in love with Youngstown. And I'd worked on the Obama campaign in Youngstown in the summer before my senior year in 2008. and basically got back to campus and was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to law school after that experience. So really enjoyed that like people to people interaction, like that I got through that campaign, and was really passionate about this area and revitalization. So I started working for a nonprofit called the Mahoning Valley Organizing Collaborative, and they were all about engaging on a very close level with neighborhoods, with churches, with any group of dedicated citizens to make the place that they live better. So basically did that for 4 years. Like really enjoyed that work. Like this love of community. Along the way, my boss is like, "Hey, you're not going to work in Youngstown. Like, you're going to work in Warren. We need help there," and that's when I fell in love with this place.
And just real quick, you're from North Jackson originally.
From North Jackson, yeah.
Which is 15 minutes away.
Right. And like growing up, I'd identified much more with Youngstown because my grandpa ran a steel shop downtown.
It's in Mahoning County, North Jackson, Mahoning County, right?
So, kind of walk into Warren and just start building relationships. Like, start trying to figure out how to get people motivated to, create a block club or, find the owner of the dilapidated house on your block and like get him to fix it up. Or so I never really had like an entrepreneurial. I guess entrepreneurial broadly, like that's extremely entrepreneurial work. You start with nothing, go out, build some relationships, and put 400 asses in seats for a big public meeting. Like you got to be an entrepreneur to be able to pull that off.
Sure.
But as far as like building a business was never really anything that I had in mind until I started home brewing, and it was probably like the second or third batch of beer. I'm already like going from the kit to, hey, let's tweak this recipe. Like let's really an accelerated like self-education on the craft and science of making beer, and probably early on, I sunk $2,000 into some used equipment. Like I was able to brew bigger batches. And then along the way with that was like, okay, like I kind of see this blending of my passion for this area and an opportunity to, really fill a vacuum in the market of why don't we have a great craft brewery? Like these things are popping up all over the place. Like let's start exploring this. I kind of recognized that like I needed some private sector experience with that. So I went off and ended up doing IT work for a manufacturing company down in Columbiana for about 2.5 years. Absolutely loved that. And really learned the nuts and bolts of like, not just how do you make raw materials become a final product, but like how do you watch and end up making money with that, which has a lot more to do with, frankly, the boring, to some people, but like the boring Excel spreadsheet than it does the
right.
glory of hops, water, yeast, malt, going into a kettle and the delicious beverage that comes out out the other end. As I was kind of doing the IT gig, I started writing the business plan, talking to all these people that I'd met at, at these art events that Jim's talking about, people that I met through community organizing, that, anybody that I made a spreadsheet that started with probably like 40 people. Anybody that I knew had some expendable income that at any point had tasted my beer and said like, hey, if you ever do something with this,
right,
let me know. I might be interested. Well, like that list grew into probably 150 contacts, of which 40 people ended up putting some skin in the game and putting some money up to put this brewery in. We started work on that space basically January of 2017. Brewed our first batch of beer like January, like New Year's Day of 2018, and then opened the tap room St. Patrick's Day of March of that year. So.
Which I brought my young son to.
It was a zoo.
It was a zoo. And what was
It's the first time we had run the bar to non-friends family. It was like truly baptism by fire.
Well, and my son dropped a glass, or somebody, I don't know if maybe he didn't. He wasn't drinking the beer, mind you. Okay. He was only like 4 at the time, but he dropped a glass and it broke. And I think Sean Carvin helped clean it up. And he was like,
now that he's 7, he drinks. Just a side note.
Right. He loves Modern Methods. He's a big, yeah. He was like, the glass broke and someone was like, oh man, Jesus, the glass broke. I said, well, it's not a party till you drop a glass and break it. So my son helped christen the place. But I want to back up a second because, the idea that you're brewing beer and it tastes good and it makes you feel good and, you drink beer and you like it, it releases dopamine. It's a neurotransmitter. You're like, oh, I feel great. And that's all well and good, and you can romanticize about that. And when you're drinking beer or any other libations, you feel like anything is possible, and it tastes good, and it feels good, and Adam had great beer. But here's the thing that most people, I think, don't realize. You walk into the brewery, like you said, it looks great. He put a lot of sweat equity into that, building that space out and making it this very comfortable, neat space where it's like part science because you've got these big stainless steel vats and different, it looks like a science, like they're making Frankenstein there. And then on the
really
other,
does.
and then on the other side, he's got a cooler. And then on the other side, you've got the tap room where you can have like bands and stuff. But I don't know when this was, probably in 2017 or maybe even late 16. I'm not sure. Adam said, oh, I wrote this business plan for this Modern Methods brewery. You want to take a look at it? And I was flattered because I was like, oh, yeah, sure. I've probably read, half dozen business plans, maybe more, but not many more. And I was like, oh, yeah, okay. And I thought it was going to be like, like 4 sheets of paper and the dude was going to be like X, Y. It was like 53 pages. And it was so organized and so it had projections and it talked about the craft brewery and the microbrewery market and how he was going to do it. And plus he was going to do a lot of the work himself and his family. And I was like, man, this dude is so hyper organized that not only because it's one thing to taste great beer,
right,
and be like, oh, I want to be on board with this because this guy makes great beer. That's cool. Not everybody can make great beer, but people can go get a kit and make beer. But to run a business and to have this vision, man, it was impressive. Right. I was like hyper impressed. To the point where obviously we're here sitting talking about it and drinking Darlene and Panthertown.
It's not another pizza place. It's not even another bar.
Right.
I mean,
you're creating the stuff that you're serving.
Right.
And it has to be good enough for people to continue to return. These aren't tried and true brands. Like
I've made homemade wine. I can't make this. I can make that batch was awesome. You want me to do another batch?
Consistently,
I can't.
right.
You know what I mean? Or have a plan to even want to do. I mean, it's a great thing.
The mechanics of the work, then the marketing of it, then the retail aspect of it, and now this evolution through, you're driving up.
Drive through.
Yeah, it's actually a cool experience. I mean, I don't know if we've really said it enough. You can go online to modernmethodsbrew.com and order the beer, pay for the beer, and literally show up. And they've got it ready, and he's got his N95 mask on, and Jeff's got his N95 mask on and their gloves, and they're handing you the beer, and it's awesome. You go. I've ordered it a couple times, and I think that is
not many bars have a legitimate drive through.
Well, luckily we're on an alley.
Well, I was just gonna
that
say,
wasn't in the
right?
business plan, but it's worked out for us.
Right.
I had a question here. When was the first time that you heard of Dave Grohl Alley? I mean, was that already established before?
Yeah, so I think the alley was renamed in like 2007, 2008. Or maybe even closer to 2009 when I moved back.
Yep.
But it was, we moved to downtown Warren, basically on the alley in 2011. But even like up until then, it's like a source of pride for people. So when you're knocking on doors or like in community meetings and like talking to people about like, hey, what do you like about this place? What don't you like? Like, I remember it coming up then as like, yeah, we got this cool thing. Dave Grohl's from here. So that's something I'm proud about. this town. So I definitely like heard about it. And, you know, as I got more involved in like the downtown community, it was like kind of like a hub for more like, kind of like some guerrilla, guerrilla activities, like pop-up concerts, you know, bring a food truck down here, you know. So yeah, the first time I heard of it was, you know, not having lived here or anything, like just people talking about it as like a source of pride.
Did you know right away, like when you decided, hey, I think I'm going to try my hand at creating a brewery? And did you think,
no,
like, I want to be on Dave Grohl?
So like I looked at probably 15 spots. I knew I wanted to be within like a 5-minute walk of downtown Warren. And I looked at everything from, you know, just completely broken down, like, hey, you can get this for $1, but you have to put in $100,000 to, you know, redo the HVAC, all that, like, to, you know, retail spots that like I could shoehorn a brewery into, but like, you know, it was like one or two things where it's like, I can't back a delivery truck, and I want to crank out some beer, so I'm going to need pallet access and, you know, a nice wide space that I can load and unload. And then it was like, so the first time I walked into this space, you know, it all made sense to me. It's like, this is a really cool alley.
That's
like,
cool.
Okay, this could work in our favor.
So it was love at first sight type deal then?
It was like,
That's cool.
I had done this a couple times where, you know, you find a space and you're like, you got that instinct, like, okay, this dog
Right.
can hunt, like this could work. And I'm like, I call it myself a bullshit engineer. So I'll hop on Google SketchUp and like do a quick layout and, you know, do a really rough draft. Like I remember I couldn't wait to get back to my computer to like just lay out the first draft of, you know, what's now Modern Methods Brewing Company for that space. So I guess it was love at first sight. It was the last spot that I looked at because as soon as I found it, I kind of like turned my attention to, you know, pursuing that spot.
When back before COVID and everything, how much of the business and how much of what you want to do is about being a bar and keeping the traditional type bar environment and money brought in? Or are you more based on distribution? So, you know what I mean? Like most people think of a bar or that's where they go. They go there to drink. That's what their main focus is. But with breweries, it's different because in this place, you're making the product, but you're also selling it. So like ultimately, sometimes I get confused is ideally, what is your major goal? Is to have a bar or to have or to get the beer out into like different restaurants and things of that nature?
Yeah, I think it's both. From a financial standpoint, it makes the most sense to sell as much beer as we can from our tap room. So,
Okay.
And that's like also from a brand standpoint, and from me personally, like I've kind of grown into this too. Like that place, the beer we make there, like it's all part of this experience and this brand, and like it's extremely humbling to see people connect with that. And so, you know, the more you can grow that and grow your tribe, grow your loyal customers right here, like that's ideal. That said, like we have occupancy of 49 in that space. Sometimes we stretch that responsibly and have a couple more than 49 in there. And, you know, there's only so much juice you can squeeze from that orange. Like, so you have extra product, you got to send it out, and really like our main customers are people that we really connect with. It's your Havana House, it's Village Pump, it's Casual Pint, it's these West Side Bowl, these places that like it's small, it's not big chains,
right?
It's these other small businesses that are also busting ass. They like to, I think they like to see me sweating and late on my delivery, dragging a half barrel keg out like in my 50-year-old dolly, like bullshitting with them about how hard it is and how awesome it is what we're doing. Like, So I like the change has really made me start to think about these things in a different way. Like if you would have told me 3 months ago that we could open a roll-up door for 4 days a week and sell like pretty much the same amount of beer we'd been selling, through our draft or through our tap room, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. Like also, why would I do that? But it's same idea. Like you could offer delivery in Cleveland and have 20 orders for 1 day delivery. Like 1 day of delivery in Cleveland, you can have 20 to 25 orders of people that you want to sell directly to, and they're going to pay you directly for. I would have said you're crazy, and we don't have enough beer for that, and why would I go through all that? It's really like making me think about what's going to change on the other side of this, where you're making decisions of who am I going to work with, how do I want to work with them, and like what if we can sell most of our beer directly to customers, like why are we dicking around with some of the situations we get in where it's like, hey, we gotta hustle, we gotta get this, so it's really been a reevaluation of like, what are we doing? Like, what's best for the brand? What's best for our core people, and how do we grow? How do we grow in a way that's like growing that and not just throwing beer up on a store shelf that we can't stand behind at the end of the day? Because at the end of that, we could go to a big contractor, a big contract brewery, probably pay less than we're paying now for, as purposely inefficiently as we brew, we could get the beer for the same amount of money and put it on every store shelf around, Northeastern Ohio or Ohio, PA. I don't think that's the best thing for the brand. I don't think that's, I don't know. It's all in flux, right?
It's only 49 people in that place. It feels like there's a lot more people in there sometimes.
It can comfortably fit more than that, but that's our
one thing about that place. There's like very rarely, but there's like 3 people there, or it's absolutely packed. Like, you know what I mean? And that's a great problem to have. That
usually it's 3 people there, and then
within 30 minutes,
hour later,
it's packed. It's just
Well, I think it's kind of cool too, because there's a little bit of an exclusivity to it too, because you walk in and you're like, man, I hope I can get a seat,
right?
Or I hope I don't have to, whatever it is.
Breweries are a lot different than a bar, because it's like a members only, but it's not really members only, know. But it's you're there to learn about the brand, the beer.
But I think there's a ton of growth potential, and we talked about this. Adam has a kind of a state of the brewery meeting every year, and I was at the last one, and some of it was the challenges of the supply side or the demand side, and the demand side is there. It's the supply side in having as much capacity to continue to brew the flagship, the highest selling beers. Mm-hmm. And then expanding out past the idea. Well, you're refilling again, huh? This Brandon loves this beer, which I want to get into that next.
Yeah. I'll explain why I love this.
Yeah. And so that's kind of I think there's, you have a lot of local and regional super buyers, for lack of better terms. But I think everybody that has tried this beer is not all, because not everybody is, I'll use Renee.
Some people don't get it.
Yeah.
Or it's
palate. Yeah, their palate's not set for it. Like Renee, my wife, she likes your beer. She's like, I can only drink one and I get like too buzzed. I need to drink there's people that drink, and I'm not knocking any of these other beers, but they'll drink they're a Coors Light or a Miller Light or a Bud Light, kind of, or a Natty Light or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's not
Busch
probably
Light. That's, if you're going to throw them all in there.
Yeah, I mean, right. Or, the Beast.
The Beast.
People are drinking Milwaukee's Best Light. I mean, whatever it is. That's not this style of beer. Mm-hmm. But
more like a Miller High Life, I would say.
Oh, absolutely.
A little
the
bit
champagne
higher,
of beer.
Higher
it's
caliber.
But really, I mean, people who've tried this, they don't have to have, these are people who don't have necessarily local ties either. They try it and they are then immersed into, I love this beer, I want to get this beer. So the upside of that is, and we talked about this at the meeting, growing the brand beyond like the Tri-County area. Obviously, like I said, now you're into Cleveland and you're some other areas. I would see this being a beer like a Great Lakes, or I mean, I gotta say this, I'm not knocking Great Lakes. They make great beer. I like your beer better than I like Great Lakes. There's a brewery, Jackie O's down front, was at Athens, Ohio. Mm-hmm. Love their beer. I love their beer. I like your beer better than Jackie O's, and I will buy Jackie O's at any of these other places. And so I think that supply side, and you've made some adjustments to that. I mean, talk about that. What if someone's listening and they're thinking about, I want to make beer, I want to be a brewer, or I just want to be a small business, and how am I expanding? Mm-hmm. Like you're in that stage now where you're like in the uncomfortable expansion. Like it's
gone on for a while though.
Right.
It feels less like a phase than like a.
But you've made adjustments.
Oh yeah.
Like you're expanding the capacity to brew. Mm-hmm. Like you've gotten more like
fermenters. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were almost double of, we've doubled our production capacity in our fermentation. I found a great deal on a fermenter, like was about to get another one, and just yesterday, like this morning, because it was like, oh my God, this is too good. And unfortunately the guy had already sold all 3 of them. But, you know, that's where we're at. It's like anything that we make really goes right back into the brewery. And, you know, it's not glorious
right,
at all.
Isn't it funny how people think
he owns his own small business. He must be a millionaire.
Well, I was just going to say, right? Isn't it funny that like that's the thing?
You own a brewery?
Like, he owns a brewery.
Website
Oh
company?
man, yeah, right.
Oh my gosh, you must have 7 swimming pools.
Right.
No, only 6.
No,
only 6.
You do have a really nice swimming pool. He's got saltwater filtration now or something. I don't know. Yeah, he's high tech.
Saving the planet.
It's funny because you're in that stage right now where you're in the growing pains of a business. Mm-hmm. And I've seen this from you, and I see it in you that, because I'm the same way. You know, when I started this company, I was the jack of all trades, master of none. I did literally everything. And I still do a lot of stuff, but I've got a great team, and you've got a great team around you. It's hard sometimes to let go of some of the stuff that you initially have control over, or you've set the parameters of here's how I want it done. Mm-hmm. And that's the trick, right? Like you're in I think a point right now where it's like, we're going to expand, or we need to expand. I don't know if you actually need to, but the capacity is there to expand the brand beyond our backyard, which you've already done. I mean, I would say you're regional now, but you're growing bigger. Now, what pieces do you find it difficult to relinquish some of the responsibilities, some of those pieces?
Less now than I did even a year ago. Yeah, because it's just it reaches a point of like absolute exhaustion, and like more of like, you hold something so tight, and like you really know exactly how you want it to be, and then you might hand it off and it's not done as well. Like I've done this where it's like, you gotta step in and say, no, here's how we have to do it. Like, this is how it's supposed to be done. It gets exhausting. And eventually you just have to like trust people.
Right.
It's not done.
It's not the way you do it, but it gets done.
And then it's actually better. You find.
Oh yeah. Right.
It's actually
right. Oh yeah. Those are the people you got to hold on to.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
You got to treat those people super well because it's your baby. Mm-hmm. Like you've created this thing out of nothing. And because of that, you take this ownership of it, and you don't almost want to relinquish the responsibility because it's your baby. Mm-hmm. It's like giving your.
But can I say on this with this brewery though, and they have that sign that's in your guys' brewery, this is his baby and everything. But a lot of people believed in you.
Oh, for sure.
And you asked people to believe in you. You weren't shy about it.
Yep.
Like a 53-page report, even to somebody like Jim Fogarty, whatever. And so it is your baby, but a lot of people just genuinely supported this. So that's got to make you feel good, right? Just like the general, I mean, this is a dream. Like, I don't have anybody investing in my dream of being a website designer. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, but you have a list of 57 people or something like that believed in your dream.
Yeah, I think it's 45 on our investor wall.
I can make a list of mine. Mine would say my wife. That's it. I've had MDI. Right. How does that make you feel though? This is...
Well, it makes me feel super self-conscious that I haven't written a distribution check to everybody, for one.
I think everyone that invested understands
but,
this is the building process.
Absolutely. And that's like, we want to build something that's here for the long haul. And, look, it frankly looks different than that business plan said. Like that like a lot of that remains true. A lot of that got thrown out the window on, day 20 or whatever. Right. Because, the market, and, now with an international pandemic, like things are even different than they were 3 months ago. So what I think people believed in was my ability to like put together a team, manage it competently most of the time, and like, keep this crazy train a rolling. And that's like, it's almost like the COVID thing is just like, it's 6 months of owning a business, or like just smushed into like a month and a half, right? Because it's the same shit. It's just you have to deal with it faster and adapt quicker and, be more nimble, and while respecting like, this is who we are. Are we going to do this? Does it make sense for the brand? Like, and it feels good. Like, you mentioned the 2-year anniversary. Like, we had the roll-up door open that day, and I just kind of casually looked at my calendar on my phone, or looked at my phone and saw the date was April 26th, and it was just like, oh, fuck.
What was planned for that day? Was there anything
the day,
really big?
man. Like, this was supposed to be the day. Like,
well, Adam sent me a picture, just, for in the listeners, the prodders out there. Adam sent me a picture a couple days ago and was like, hey, here's this picture, because on the day that...
I think I was like looking for pictures from last year, and just that one popped up. I was like, oh, this is hilarious. This is a great picture.
Adam's like, hey, come down and take a picture of all of us, all the team members, the volunteers, the investors, everyone who will show up for our 1-year anniversary. And
we had this 6 o'clock was our day, our time.
We had like a really cool group photo, and he took a picture of me up on this ladder taking a picture of the group, and sent it. Was like, hey, by the way.
It's a cool picture because there's literally like 70 people that I'm like sitting with.
Yeah.
But you can't see any of that. Sorry. You can't see any of that. It's just Jim like looking alone with the camera, like trying to direct traffic. So it's like all of these people, but it's just Jim in this picture.
Yeah, it's a cool shot. I was happy to be there and then he was like, "Man, this sucks because now it's the 2-year and we're in lockdown, socially responsible lockdown."
Yeah.
But
while you're in social, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It just, we're having some beers. I can honestly tell you, I know that this is...
Yeah, I was just going to roll into
guys,
that.
no one's shook hands, no one's breathing in mouths.
Yeah, right. We're all far away from each other.
But this is probably the first time that I've sat down and had a beer with a person that was in the same room in a long time. Not somebody I'm like looking on my phone like, dude, look, my beer.
Right. Isn't that crazy how that's changed? The happy hour, the Zoom happy hour.
I can't wait till I can high five somebody. Does anybody else out there just want to high five?
Bro, I'm
somebody?
Italian, so I can't wait till I can like hug somebody or like, get on the, I
jiu-jitsu.
I rolled jujitsu with my son today, but like, he's 7. It's not like, it's a little bit different. But
just looking for some better competition.
He's a killer, but it's like, dude, slow down already.
Can we talk about this beer?
Well, I was just gonna say,
okay,
the influx or the increase in consumption of alcoholic beverages has increased over the past couple of months. There was a report I just read a couple of days ago, and I don't remember the exact figures. So I think it's interesting that we have this brewery in downtown Warren on Dave Grohl Alley called Modern Methods, and you are rolling up the doors and selling beer. You know, you pay for it online, and you're selling beer right through the thing, and you pick it up, and you're I don't know if I don't know if thriving is the right word, but you're maintaining.
Yeah, I mean, our business isn't set up for this. You know, if we were making 10 times as much as we're making now, you can really like kill it on you know, basically wholesale, which is what we're doing. We're maintaining, absolutely, and you know, because we talked about we were able to get the PPP loan. We were able to get.
You're one of the few lucky people
Yes.
who got the PPP loan, which is awesome.
It's been able to give us a little bit of confidence to say, like, okay, well, if this is the new normal, like, how do we invest in this? You know, so it's little tweaks, bringing people additional help on canning day to make that whole thing more efficient. Like I said, looking for another fermenter, because it's like, okay, if we used to make $4 per sale on this over the bar, and we built our business around that, and now we're making 75 cents per beer on putting it in paying people to put it in cans, packing it up in a 4-pack and selling it 1 4-pack at a time. Like, what's gonna sustain us to get through that? So yeah, I would say thriving in that we're extremely fortunate to be paying, like, having
You're
people
open,
on staff,
number one.
being able to be open,
Yeah.
you know, maintaining some semblance of our staff, and you know, being open to our customers, because that's like that would crush me the most if we didn't still have a presence. Like, we couldn't roll up that door and see the people that like just really want to support us right now.
Yeah. Well, they're vested. The user, the drinker, the buyer is vested, and you've given people. Obama did this. You're an Obama. You know, Adam worked. He's mentioned he worked on Obama's campaign. There was at some point they made signs, and you submitted your sign design online, and that gives, even if your sign wasn't picked as the winner, it gave you a buy-in. Like, you were vested into that, and it's the same thing with Modern Methods. You and your team, you got great bartenders and great staff, Jeff and Tater and all these, you know, Tater's moving on or whatever, but you got all these great team members. And Sarah and your son. I mean, you know, it's a family.
He's almost 2.
Yeah.
He kills it.
Yeah.
Absolutely great, best dishwasher just out there. Busting them out. Like, you want your glasses clean? Come on.
Well, you know, you've got these people who have really bought into the product, and they bought in because they like you, but they bought in because the product is at a high standard. It tastes good. It makes you feel good. These people are beer drinkers, and they, you know, you mentioned you want to support a local business, but you've given them the ability to buy in, either through merchandising. I'm wearing a Modern Methods t-shirt right now. Having your favorite beer, bringing in local artists to design like the cans and stuff, like Dominic
Dom
Perone did the percolator.
Yep.
So that was this is, you know, I'm going to go on sidetrack for a second, but you mentioned Havana House, which is a local, has a couple locations. There's a cigar business, but they also have, you know, there's a bar attached to it.
How do you describe the Havana House in one sentence?
Yeah, it's really difficult. You walk in and it smells like a cigar room, really good cigars, and then, you know, you get coffee or you get beer or you get whiskey or you get whatever they have carry out. Yeah, whatever you want, wine. But I was in there one day for a meeting, and I was like, man, I'm going to get some beers to go, and I'm going to get a beer to drink. And then Dom actually, I don't think I even knew of Percolator. And Dom was like, I said, of course I want to support. So I said, do you have any Modern Methods? He was like, oh, yeah, definitely. And he brought me, he's like, check this one out. And of course, it's the can he designed. And he starts telling me about the color schemes and the water, the blue and the red and the yellow and all these different things. And I was like, all right, well, I'm buying this thing now because he spent all this time. And then Percolator, as it sounds, is it's a lager that's infused, that's coffee infused. It has like and man, you open it up and it's Darlene.
It's Darlene on their El Salvadorian Finca Marina beans for about 72 hours, and it
phenomenal,
unbelievable. Yeah, like we in that collaboration, like we legit tested like probably 40 different combinations of beans, beers, crush down to the crush of the bean. Like does crushed work better than whole bean? Does a rough crush work better than, or a coarse crush work better than a fine crush?
Right.
It was exhausting, but at the end of it, we were like, oh boy, I think we got something here.
Well, see, that's what's cool about Adam is like he's got this manufacturing thing down. He's got this like digit head. I say it with because some people are like digit head, but he's got digit head like the business plan and the manufacturing of this. But you're kind of like a mad scientist too, where you're sampling and tasting and doing all these crazy things to get like the perfect blend of these ingredients to give you the perfect flavor profile of a beer that you're after. So it's a weird scenario that I don't think there's, you're a little bit of an outlier, I think, because I don't think there's a lot of people who have all those skill sets. Usually you have one of them. Like it's like, oh, I'm a digit head. I'm into crunching numbers and doing all these different things. Or,
well, like you brought this up earlier, like I'm something like master of none.
Yeah, jack of all trades, master of none. Right?
I mean, that's me. Like, and this is especially now when every expenditure, like you're just trying to figure out, like, oh, is this the right thing to put? Like, what I've found is maybe my skill set isn't in, like, I got to find somebody there's somebody out there that can do better spreadsheets than me. There's somebody out there that can do social media better than me. Jeff is a better brewer than me. Like, we nailed that already. So what the hell do I do?
You're the glue that holds it all together. You're the creator. I mean, so I'll give you some insight just from my perspective. Yeah. It's like, I can, I'm in production, so I can shoot and I can edit and I can write and I can voice over sometimes and I can act and but there's people who are infinitely better than me. It's like Dave Matthews. My uncle always said this to me. He went to go see Dave Matthews. He wasn't like a big Dave Matthews fan. I said, hey, Unc, what do you think about Dave Matthews? He was like, oh, he's pretty good. But what he's really good at is he surrounded himself with people who were better than him at those. He was adequate at those positions, but he surrounded himself with teammates who were better than him, and he was the glue that gelled it all together. And that's maybe what you are.
The producer.
Yeah, right.
How do you step back and like let other people?
Well, you're doing it. You're finding out now. I think that's the biggest challenge in small business ownership or any ownership, when it's a singular person or a small group of people who have created something, whatever that something is, maybe they're whatever widget they're making, and that one person or that very small group of people have a hold on it, and it's their baby, right? And that's hard to let go, but they find those pieces. Like Julie Smith, she's our development director. Mm-hmm. She is a better proofreader than me. She's better at billing. I created the billing system. I created it. Okay, she's better at doing it than me. Okay, yeah. She's better at writing. Matt Smith, I know how I want things to look. Matt does all post-production and all. I know how I want stuff to look, and I'm okay at it. He's better than me.
Right.
So it's like, yeah, so what's my role? I don't know. I'm the glue that puts it all together.
Or maybe you can just like sneak home quietly early one day and spend some time with your family.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Good luck. You've got maybe some time before that happens. Although you're a young father. That's another balancing act, man. That's tough.
No, that's easy.
Is it? Because I can tell you, I'm an older dad. I'm 44. My son's 7. He was born when I was 37. My business was already established. I went through a lot of growing pains and making a ton of mistakes ahead of time. And you're in this process of making this business while you're young. I mean, that's a totally different challenge. Brandon's in kind of the same boat. He's got a 3-year-old daughter, and he's still trying to figure out. I mean, I'm 20
Brandon,
years
how's that
in.
going for you?
Yeah, Brandon, how is that going for you? Oh, he stepped out.
I think he went to
pee.
Yeah.
He walked to the latrine because we are, thank God, this is what's great about having a brewer, a owner of a brewery over, is that he's brought us samples. And of course, we've drank beers. Is that the right phrase? Drank or drunk? We've drank beers on air before with other guests. And a lot of times it's modern methods.
Yeah, you come down with the growler like, hey.
Yeah, hey, can you fill this beer? We got some people. So Adam brought us a couple of a 4-pack of Darlene, which is their flagship lager. And,
and you told me specifically, bring some of that Panthertown
Yes.
down, and we'll celebrate your 2 years
yes.
here.
So let's talk about Panthertown a little bit, because here is the a little bit of the crux that we got into when I talk about my wife, or I think females in general, because I think males sometimes are like, yeah, the stronger the beer, the better. I want to get.
I think it's changing.
Is it?
I think generally, you're right generally, but
Yeah.
I think it is changing.
Chicks want to get a little tipsy sooner.
Well, that too, but also just the general palate and the general approach towards craft beer is more sessionable lagers versus like, oh man, did you taste this? It's 10.5% and it blew up my palate. I can't taste anything for 20 minutes afterwards, and it's got so much hops. Like I could taste the hops between my teeth.
Yeah.
And also they added like a strawberry milkshake. Like, man, it was crazy. I never want to drink that shit again.
Right. Or you can only drink one of them.
Yes.
But I want to sit and drink beer, and I want to have like 3 or 4 beers with my buddy, but I can't drink.
And converse over this awesome bar that we've worked really hard to present as an experience to you. But you have like 3-6% beers, and you're like,
You're
okay,
smashed.
Uber.
Yeah, right.
Here's my
right.
Uber, and now my wife's gonna be pissed because she's gonna have to drive my ass out in the morning to work. Yeah, I think so Panthertown is our. We're really hoping to get about a 4.5% super sessionable, super crushable lager. I don't want to call it a light lager or an American lager even. It's going to be very traditional German, all malt, German noble hops, and just at that 4.5%, it's like you're now closer to like a Coors Light, or those are probably closer to 4, but like something where you can have a couple and you're naked with that beer. If there are any flaws in your brewing or fermentation process, there's no hops to hide behind, there's no roasted malt to hide behind, there's no adjuncts, there's no fruit flavorings to hide behind. It's the toughest beer to make, and what we want to do with that is like, basically create like a beer for us here in Warren, like something. And the other nice thing about, I might be a little bit too cautious on our costing. Like I will look at something and I'll say like, yeah, we could sell it at this, but I want this person to be able to buy it consistently. So I'm actually going to like eat a little bit of cost on that.
Sure.
So with that lighter, that lighter ABV, we're able to kind of like even drop our costs a little bit more. And I apologize if anybody's expecting this, but we're not going to be able to sell it as cheap as, Miller Lite. Just not going to happen. But somewhere in that closer to that price range where it's a local beer, people enjoy it, and it's like our brewery. It's got roots in Warren, and like I'm hoping, because right now it's all changed. My goal is to have that beer. Talk to our fellow restaurant owners that have also completely changed their business model, and say, hey, call it like the Panthertown special. Put something that you love, that your customers love, for a carryout, and offer a 4-pack of Panthertown with it, and send people out on their way. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, it tastes lighter than Darlene. I'm going to refill because I just cracked a Darlene as soon as we started.
So that puts Darlene in our premium lager category.
Yeah. So, you know what? Let's go real quick just through the names, some of the names. And you know what? I just wrote down real quick because we were talking beforehand. Was Lawn Artist the Kolsch?
Yes.
Okay.
That'll be that would be a traditional like summer release.
And that's a Pilsner?
So a Kolsch is kind of a hybrid style. Similar to Jeanette, which is our cream ale.
That's what I was trying to think of.
Okay.
Jeanette. Oh.
So Jeanette is...
listen, everyone out there, if you get a beer from Modern Methods and it's named after a girl, it's delicious. They're all delicious. Some of them are just not my particular palate.
We save our... most of our lagers, which started with Darlene, our flagship lager. Darlene led to Gretchen, our German Helles lager, which led to Jeanette, our cream ale, which led to Nina, our Mexican amber lager. We started calling Darlene because we needed a name for our flagship lager, and I'm like, let's just call it Darlene. Come on, we're releasing this next week, but.
Yeah, pour it in there, man. Brandon's back from his pee break. I hope you washed your hands, man.
Of course.
So I've got a little bit of the Panthertown now. I don't want to interrupt Adam because Adam's running us through the names. Mm-hmm. Darlene, Jeanette, Nina. I don't think I tried Nina.
We're going to bring her back hopefully in July if fermentation allows.
I'm back and I'm super excited about this Panthertown and give my opinion on it.
Yes.
So whenever it's ready.
Yeah, well, I mean, let's talk about it because it is, we kind of led up to the idea that this is a more accessible beer in terms of the total alcoholic volume of it, or less of a volume. You could sit back over a fire in Brandon's backyard by his extremely large pool because he's rich and lives in a world-class community, and he'll sit back there and have a fire and drink like, 6-pack with his buddies. And you can drink a 6-pack of Darlene. Mind you, you might have to do that over several hours because I know Adam says it's 5.5?
5.5, yeah.
Yeah, it's a little stronger.
Depending on the batch, we've got about a 0.5%
5.5 in
that we
liquor?
can play with.
5.5 liquor in
Yeah.
it? Can I just say something?
Yes. You can say whatever you want.
Here's the thing. It's been a little bit about an hour now, hour and a half, or whatever.
It's about an hour. We're about an hour in.
Right.
Yeah.
I have had probably what would equivalent to be
Probably
3.5, 3.5, 4
maybe
beers.
4, yeah, right.
Me, myself, going into this,
He's feeling loose, people.
I am feeling a little bit loose, but I wanted to kind of get onto more of there's a different side of people. So we talked about the brewery is not almost for everyone, right? There's a special craft to it. I'm just going to put this out there. Give me a 12-pack of Miller Lite. Mm-hmm. I could sit there. I can drink those. I could probably drink those 12 outside in the summer or just at a bar. I could probably drink 10 of them. Mm-hmm. I'm going to have that really good buzz. I'm not going to drink them 10, but it's probably within 4 hours. Next thing you know, I got 10 of them gone, and it's like I got a good buzz. Mm-hmm. I go to your bar, not just you, any brewery. I'm sitting there drinking their beers after 2 of them. Yeah, I just felt like I had a 24-pack.
Yeah, you ain't smashing
thrown
10
through my system.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's a different way that you have to go about these breweries, right? Mm-hmm. But ladies and gentlemen, for the people that said, I like Adam, I like Modern Method, I don't like getting fucked up. Sorry, excuse my French.
Right. Beep.
This is the beer. Because I'm telling you right now.
It is the beer, right? Yeah.
This is absolutely the beer now that I'm a little nervous now. Because now, once this COVID's out, I can go and have that beer or two over at Modern Methods 24 steps away from me and go home, be all right.
Yeah.
Not, where did you come from, Brandon? This is an excellent choice of beer. I cannot, let me be on your commercial if that's the case. Like, it is absolutely, I think this is going to solve the problem for the, I don't like to put the genders out there, but the women like the, you know.
Yeah, we talked about that when you're peeing. Yep.
Oh, okay. They don't like that you be drunk.
Yeah.
Or the person that honestly just wants to drink 2 beers in an hour because it's a long day at work, but they don't want to get ripped. You know what I mean?
Right.
This This is.
Well, what's your
Thank
highest
you.
ABV?
I want to thank
I
you
wish
for
I wish we could take credit for it, but the Germans have been making this shit for about 1,000 years, probably like 600 to 800 years. It's a good German Pilsner, you know.
Well, you have other. What's your highest ABV? What's the beer that's the highest?
We've done up to 10.5.
Okay. What's Roast Beast?
Roast beef is 6.
Okay. Because that's like a smasher. Like you drink. See, I think Adam's like it's 6, but I think it's really like closer to 7.
No, it's 6, man. Like I can say with certainty.
Yeah. Well, you're a mad scientist, so I would agree.
So,
I mean, I would take your word for it.
I think, and we've talked about this. Like, our rules, we allow for a little bit of variance in ABV, right? So if you're drinking
ABV is
alcohol by volume.
Yeah. Thank you.
That becomes a business decision when you're making, 300 million barrels.
The higher the volume, the more expense.
Yeah. And so, there's actual processes where you brew high gravity and then you take deoxygenated water and just dilute that down. So if you can imagine a massive industrial process that says like, hey, we can make X million more dollars next quarter if we take that insert industrial macro beer here, and we can list it as 4.2, but that's 3.7%.
Okay,
that's going to be more return for our shareholders, and we're within our rights to do that, et cetera, et cetera. So like when people see our percentages up there and they say like, man, I've had 2 Darlene's and I'm feeling it. Like, are you sure that's 5.5%? It's like, yeah. Like that is 5, because we're painstaking about it. Like we're measuring it every day to make sure fermentation is good, and then
because some of the beer you're getting from a mass brewer says one thing, but it's actually lower.
I don't want to say any brewer is responsible for anything.
We're not naming any names,
right?
I'm just saying, but
it's just it becomes a business decision because we're so inefficient and well, we can only do it the one way, which is.
I mean, I've my all-time favorite. I guess I won't have to get into it. It's a name brand light beer, right? But can we say it?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, say whatever you want.
So my favorite beer is Miller Lite. Mm-hmm. Okay,
I like Miller Lite. It's
whatever. I think it's around 5%. Whatever. Mm-hmm. It's probably low, right?
Like 4.
Okay, 4.
Around 4. Yeah.
Around 4ish. Now, what's Darlene have in it?
5.5.
5.5. So that's only 1.5 more.
See,
how does
it's
good?
There's been a lot of that increase in alcohol. It's not exponential, but there's a the way that it hits your body is way more than like your brain might immediately think. Because you're like, it's just 1.5%, and then it goes up to 6 and 7 and 8 and 9. Having been doing this, damn near started homebrewing in like 2011, having almost done this 10 years, like you really get a feel for, in a way that a casual beer drinker does not, like what a 7% beer versus a 5.5% beer versus a 4% beer, how that's going to hit you. And then on up from there, because now there's 10% beers and 12% beers and 16% beers and beyond. There's a reason that a wine glass, like it's culturally acceptable with a 14% ABV wine. You're not filling 16 ounces of that, right? You're getting 3 or 4 ounces because, like, if you drank 16 ounces of 14% wine, there's going to be some consequences of that.
On a brewer's on a brewer's standpoint, though, let's just say there's 5% or like that 1.5% difference, but like there's just something with like just your regular beer compared to a crafted beer that, like, if you added up how many beers per percentage and stuff, you still feel so much more drunk or buzzed off of a craft beer compared to a Coors Light or a Miller Lite. Or why is that? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, so it's like I could drink 2 or 3 Miller Lights. That's 12% of these beers.
That's what he's telling you, man.
That's what I'm telling you.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So like that, you're drinking a 4% ABV 12 ounce 12-ounce can, right?
Right.
So you come to Modern Methods and you're drinking, even if it's Darlene, you're drinking 4 more ounces per pint, which is our currency. You're getting a pint.
Okay.
And that extra percentage, take that over. If you're having a Dub City at 7.2%, like it
I see what you're saying.
It hits that 1%. Like they should actually come up with a better.
Yeah, right.
Your average consumer is just seeing like it's only
1% more. Right.
But like the way your body
processes
that can be much more than you anticipate. And there's a whole a science thing behind that I've read a while ago that I can't quite recount. But it's
because we've had 4 beers.
Or in brewery terms, 18.
Well, the feel-good effect by the neurotransmitter dopamine is what beer gives you. So you drink beer, and your body releases dopamine, and that's the feel-good thing. And so beer stimulates the reward center in your brain. And no other beer makes me happier than Modern Methods.
I wish you would have looked directly at him for the viewers out there.
That.
He was looking
Thanks,
down.
Yeah, well, I wrote that down because I'm interested in, obviously I'm interested in like
Dopamine.
biology. Well, I'm interested in biology and biohacking and things of that nature. And I can say this with great certainty that when I was doing jiu-jitsu on the regular, and when I go back and do it, I loved on Friday. Friday was fight days. And fight days, we'd put a mouthpiece in and put your gloves on, and you'd get with your training partner and you'd get after it, and you might get beat up a little bit, and your joints are sore, and I loved at the end of the day. I always looked forward to. I don't know how many paces it is. I didn't measure it quite exactly as Brandon did, but I loved walking out the back door down the alley, and I loved going to Modern Methods because it made me feel good. And it made my joints feel good. Panthertown has the same effect. It's got a great flavor profile. We're drinking Panthertown right now. So, as Adam has said, he's got a whole litany of different flavors: roast beast, sweet fart, Darlene, Gretchen, lawn artist, percolator.
We've registered probably close to 100 different labels in the state.
I was going to kind of ask you,
at
how
$50
many?
a pop, you can see how much we're paying to the state just in beer labels.
And now he's going to be releasing. So when is Panthertown set to be released?
So we've got kind of a second pilot batch that's what we're drinking right now.
And you're still kind of testing this out, is that correct? Yeah.
So we're gonna make a big
tweaking
batch.
it right till the end.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it'll be an ongoing process. Like, Darlene has had very little tweaks since the day we released it, other than us getting better at brewing it. But a beer like Dub City, we have been doing incremental adjustments to just get it closer and closer.
And Dub City's your IPA.
That's right. That's our flagship, West Coast style IPA.
It's killer.
Thank you.
Yep.
So we're on batch 3 of Panthertown, and we have a 24 barrel. So we'll brew 28 barrels of it, and we're not putting any in kegs, unfortunately, right now. So I did the math today. That'll be 7,000 cans of Panthertown that we'll be pumping out here in the very near future.
And when do you have a date or a tentative date that you're looking at?
I would say a month and a half.
Okay.
So that's
June-ish.
June-ish. That gives us time to go out and say, hey, to our customers, really excited about this beer. Here's the story behind it. I'm also playing around with maybe it's going to be a Warren only release. So maybe a bar in Warren that hasn't been a Modern Methods customer, they'll feel some exclusivity that I'm
the only one that has Panthertown.
I can only get I can get Panthertown, and other people can. Okay, cool. I'll buy a or a keg of that, because we will get out of the other end of this COVID thing
eventually, right?
People will be able to drink beer at locations again.
Now, for your super alcoholics, can they still get a keg if they wanted to?
Yeah, so
you want to buy a keg?
I mean, that's been one. Our direct to customer keg sales have gone up considerably.
Really, a lot of people like kegerators in their house.
A lot of people.
What was it after the first during the first week of stay at home, wasn't it like alcohol purchasing of alcohol went up like almost like 700%,
Yeah, I
something like
believe it.
that?
Yeah.
Our liquor store customers, like, you would go in there with, you got a couple cases for them, and they're just like ghosts looking back at you, like, hey, how are you doing? Like, oh, we're fine. How are you? Like, it's been like Christmas for 2 weeks. Yeah, Christmas week for 2 weeks.
I go through a drive-through all the time. 2 times since all this have happened to pick up Miller Lite, and they're like, we don't have any. And we're waiting for I'm like, really? People are really like just stocking up on this? Because I just buy the 12-pack. When I'm done, I go buy another 12. Like,
Right.
People, I got buddies that have gotten like 7-8 cases of stuff. I'm like, you think we're dying? You think we're not allowed outside?
They
like,
just don't
that and
they don't want to go outside.
yeah, it's like beer, toilet paper. We good? All right.
Yeah.
Well, in 2017, there were 4,522 microbreweries in the United States, 7,450 breweries in the United States. Now in 2019, when the last numbers were done, over 8,000. That's 290 breweries in Ohio. I mentioned earlier, Modern Methods is on the Wikipedia page, is one of those 290 breweries listed that employ 83,000 people across the state. So, there's a lot of economics to this. So my point in saying this is, people, go out there and drink some beer responsibly.
Right.
Okay? Get your
Buy
Ubers,
some beer, take it home.
stay at home, yeah, and drive through and get yourself some beer, especially Panthertown from Modern Methods Brewery. Now, I want to ask you a question real quick, though. I already know the answer to this, but we do have a handful, like legit a handful of listeners from other states. Where'd you come up with the name for Panthertown? And tell us a little bit about like that story. I know you're going to be talking about this in the next several weeks and months as this is released, but let us know about it. Tell me about it. Panthertown.
I mean, you could probably tell better than I can, because I'm not from.
Because he's a North Jackson guy.
Wait, is this my opportunity?
And I actually am a Warren guy.
But you're a Kennedy guy.
Oh, I see.
I went through the public school system.
Let me just say this. Let me just preface it with this. I grew up on Kenilworth Avenue, Northeast, 2 blocks from Warren G. Harding. And when I was a kid, I always wanted to be a Warren G. Harding Panther because my babysitter was a Panther and she was a majorette. She was kind of cute. And I could hear the drums beating as a kid before the games and during practice. And when you're a kid, the bass drum, for whatever reason, I was close enough. I remember feeling the drum inside my chest, like the resonation of the bass, and it was like a big deal. Like being a Warren Harding Panther, being from Warren, and hearing the Panthers. And like I said, I was literally I grew up 2 blocks from the high school, and I wanted to be a Panther. But my parents, they went to Warren JFK, which they were Eagles. Now, Brandon actually graduated from Harding, but he's a Raider.
I'm a Raider.
Okay, so the 2 schools combined. And so, yeah, good. Adam's going to pee, so we'll talk about this a little bit for a second. So the Panthertown release is based on the mascot from Warren G. Harding Panthers.
Right.
East Side. West Side was Warren Western Reserve Raiders. We actually talked about this ahead of time, where Brandon was like, oh, man, what are you going to do with those West Siders who are going to be like, yo, dude, what's
like my parents.
Yeah, what's up with it? You're going to make
that Western Reserve beer.
Yeah, where's that Western Reserve?
Let me get that
beer?
Western Reserve real quick.
Yeah.
That might be a little bit catchy, but
maybe that'll be a different release.
No, absolutely. I like the name Panthertown USA, though. I mean, well, that's actually what so this beer is called Panthertown, correct?
Correct.
And then the slogan was Panthertown USA. And for years, that was a staple high school, and then it split into 2, and then it became something different. But some of the famous people that were a Panther was a Panthertown. You got like Paul Warfield was a Panther.
These are football players for non-athlete
football
athletes.
Players like Paul Warfield. just a slew of people that came through Warren.
Well, it's funny. It's got that east side, west side, west side story across the tracks kind of vibe.
Right.
Warren was a thriving industrial town at the time. They had two different schools, and so we'll have to ask Adam when he comes back in why Panthertown was selected. But I have an idea why. It's probably the nostalgia factor, and to be honest with you, the artwork. If you were to think of a raider,
I haven't seen the artwork of this. I'm excited.
Oh well, so I've actually seen it, but he can talk about it.
Is the panther in it?
Well, it's the panther from like Tim's T-shirts or whatever. And,
right.
And I think I don't want to speak out of school here, but I think one of our local artists, and I'll let Adam say that, but I think one of our local artists is actually designing the label for Panthertown.
Oh, cool.
But when you hear the word panther or Panthertown, you know what that is right away. Mm-hmm. Versus when you hear the word raider, you don't necessarily know what that is. So like that's part of, not to get into Warren like folklore or whatever, but the Warren Harding Raiders. What is a raider? So again, for those who are not from the area, it's an Indian, right? And they had the fear the spear kind of thing. They'd chuck a spear and it was like a raider, these Warren Harding Raiders. But Panthertown was like a and I know just recently, like Land O'Lakes changed that that visual from an Indian, and I don't remember who that Indian was. Was it like Pocahontas or somebody? I'm not really sure, but they changed that because they wanted to be less offensive. Right. So it's Land O'Lakes, and now there's no Indian involved. Similar to the Raiders. Like when you say Raider, it's kind of it could, if you're Native American, you could take offense to that. So Panthertown, I think, is the right choice in terms of non-offending. But why did you choose that, Adam? Now that you're back from pee break.
I mean, frankly, like a customer demand, like we've got a couple vocal customers that were like, and then it goes back to my buddy Dennis Blank back in.
There it is.
Back in
nice old Panther himself.
So I would say like early 2010s, like when I'm hitting the home brewing hard and doing community work, and Dennis is like, hey, let me get some of this. Can you brew a beer for me? Like, I know I can't pay you for the beer. You don't worry about it. I'm like, yeah, I don't want, like, can you brew me
I'll give you
beer?
Some cigars.
Something. Yeah, we worked something out. So he wanted to brew, we called it Panther Pale Ale. And I mean, I am not I can make a label, but I'm not a graphic artist by any chance or by any stretch of the imagination. I got on MS Publisher and like made this label, put a nice I think it was a blonde ale actually, with a little bit of Centennial hops, just a really super light, drinkable, flavorful blonde ale, and ended up bottling up 5-6 cases and giving it to him, and it was like the response was insane. Like he gave them out as presents, people, and then by the end of it, when he ran out, people were just like clamoring for it. Like, how can I get one? Like,
right.
How can I get some of this stuff? So it's been something that Dennis and I have talked about a lot. Like for me, it's been like this balancing thing where like, I'm trying to build a brand that respects Warren and has roots in Warren, but isn't just that, if that makes sense.
Sure, right.
So, and then there was just this confluence of, a lot of it had to do with talking with guys like you guys and Barry and other customers that are like, look, I just want to drink 3 beers and not have, not.
So that's the West Sider thing. So can I just say this? It's going to be called Panthertown, but it's their lightweight beer.
Well, here's the thing, though.
So for those West Siders out there, be like, oh, you're drinking that. You're drinking their lightest stuff
so
over there.
Here's where I don't have a dog in the fight. Like,
right.
I don't think there needs to be parity where we have a West Sider beer, we have an East Sider beer. Like,
right.
this is a part of our history
Yeah.
that is worth embracing.
Oh, yeah.
And worth a beer.
Yeah, for sure.
And I think there's just this, again, like a confluence of
I could say
let's make an excellent German Pilsner. Let's lighten the ABV that allows us to enter different price brackets and, mass, for our scale, mass produce it in a way. And, it respects this history in this town.
and the tradition, because Harding was here before Western Reserve, so there's
Right.
more Harding.
You just
you
keep
can-
bringing
you guys-
bringing politics back into
well,
it.
here's the thing. I'm giving it for him because he's like, oh, West Side.
It's not
West
me
Side shit.
because
Yeah.
I've actually been through this. I actually work and do a lot of things with the football team, the school districts and stuff. And the sad part about it is what you're saying sounds great, and it should be that way. The problem is that the idea of the death of the Warren G. Harding Panthers and the Warren Western Reserve Raiders was never really settled to a lot of people.
Yeah, sure.
There's a lot of people that won't root for the Raiders because they'll never do it.
How do you do that? And this gets into a very
And I
deep
get that.
conversation about community.
Yeah,
and
this might be
about-
another episode of the podcast.
Right.
You can't. I don't know.
Yeah, you
I don't know
really-
if you can.
I
There's
made
no
this-
good way to do it.
You really
I made this logo one
Consolidate
time.
two beloved schools on two different sides.
They were one of the best
city.
rivalries in the city.
And with all of the socioeconomic
They were the only rival in the city. They were
sorry,
one of
in
the
the
best
state.
rivals in the state.
Absolutely,
yeah.
right.
and geographic, all of those complexities. How do you just say collapse it into one?
Yeah.
And here's how it's going to go.
You
down?
really can't.
sad
Here's
state of
what
it
you
is
do
that-
is you celebrate, which Brandon's just done. He just did a 30 of 30, like 30 of the best players of the last 30 years after the schools were consolidated. And the way you celebrate it is the idea that when these two schools consolidated the very first year in the biggest sport in local Northeast Ohio and probably in Ohio in general is obviously football. And these guys won the state title. They took these two really mega
Massive.
schools, and combined them and combined their talents. And because of that, these guys, walked into the state title. I mean, they smashed people.
Smash people.
And so it's that's kind of that celebration. So, for listeners out there who are from the area, don't get caught up in the vernacular, in the Panthertown or whatever. Just celebrate the beer and get together with your buddies and drink the beer. I want to ask you a question real quick though. Panthertown, the artwork, because we were talking about it when we were on a little pee break. It is the Panther, and Brandon and I were talking about this, because when you say the word Panther Town, you would know what that is right away. If you weren't from Warren, you would automatically visualize that. It's a panther. What's a panther? It's a cat, a big
It's
cat.
a sweet cat.
Yeah. Whereas if you said Raider Town, people were like, what the fuck?
Well, it'd be Raider country.
Whatever it is, but they would be like, what is that? Like, what is a Raider? I'm not really sure. Is it like... So I think the choice is correct. I think the ABV is correct now that we're a few beers in. And it's delicious. I'm looking forward to your release. I'm looking forward to buying this beer in a 4-pack. And
If the pricing works out, and maybe we could talk about this offline, but I'd love to do like a 6-pack of 16 ounces.
Yes.
16-ounce pounders.
You could do
Now
tall
you're
boys of
talking.
these. Now I haven't refilled in past like 25 minutes, and I don't feel more drunk. I feel like I had a regular.
you feel good.
I feel
Right.
good. Where it's just, and it's not just a Modern Methods thing. Like it's a brewery thing. It's just you go to these microbrewers, and it's like you're getting hit with some shit. Like I know what's crazy is that. Going to these breweries are a lot of fun, and the ones that don't spend the time to make an awesome environment, I think they're really missing out on a lot of it. Because I don't go to a brewery to just because I just want to try like a bunch of different things. That's just me. I want to go there because I want the whole experience. I want to see how you're making it in the background, or at least you guys aren't working on the beers while the bar's open.
Sometimes.
Right, sometimes you are, but I get to imagine. I get to sit there and say, like,
'Cause you
man,
can
some
see it,
sweats
yeah.
here, And but it just, where was I going with this?
I'm not really sure, but
I'm not.
I think
This is a really good beer. Like
I think where you're going is the beer is accessible and it's not to the point where it's beyond people's palates. Right. Like if you're a beer drinker, this is a beer that's, to use Adam's phraseology, it's highly crushable. You can drink it.
Perfect.
It's something that where, you can legit drink a 6-pack and not feel like I went to Ohio City and, we sampled a bunch of their beers and had a flight or whatever. And, I've had flights at your place at Modern Methods. And, dude, you could get, you get a little tipsy. You got to call the Uber. This is a beer where, you still might want to call the Uber if you have a few. But this is a beer that's a little bit more accessible, and it's more accessible to people's palates. Like, my wife's not going to drink a roast beast. I mean, that's just not within her. She's not going to drink a Guinness. She's not going to drink a...
Because some of them are like taking a shot.
Some of them
like on the palate side.
Right. Yeah, and some of they're great, but they're not... What was the beer they came out with? Or it's not even a beer, but maybe it is a beer. It was a roast... I was going to say roast beast. It was a root beer.
Oh, Not Your Father's Root Beer?
Yeah, so they had this Not Your Father's Root Beer. Remember that? It's still out there. And you drink it, and you could have one,
that's cool.
maybe two, but that's not something you're going to belly up to across the fire from your, 6 buddies and drink, 5 or 6 beers and bullshit over the course of the night. You're just not going to do that with that particular beer. And you're probably not going to do that with, some things that are like higher ABV or they're more, IPA style, heavy IPA where they're like real bitter. This is a beer, Panthertown, where you can legit sit and drink a 6-pack and like BS with people. And obviously, because we've been BSing for the last hour and a half.
Do you think there's any 6-packs over there that once you hit that end button over there, he can...
I don't know, but here's what I'm thinking. He already said
put it in a milk
fart, and so I'm already thinking about like sweet fart. Adam, I want to have you back on. I want to thank you first off. Brandon and I want to thank you for coming and spending time with us, bringing beer and talking about your beer and talking about your process and the evolution of your business through COVID, which has been super awesome because I think it's enlightening for people who have small businesses. They might not necessarily be like breweries or service businesses or whatever, but they can use you as an example of someone who's adapted, And so everybody out there, obviously, stay socially distanced. Jesus. Am I slurring my words?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And stay safe and
get electrified.
Drink beer. But in the meantime, before we sign off, where can people find out more information about Modern Methods?
Yeah, Facebook is going to be up to date. All of our releases. We've got a pretty exhausting release pipeline over the next month or two. I won't say every other week or every week, but maybe at least every other week, new beer is coming out. So Facebook, Instagram, our website is where you're going to find that portal where you're going to be able to buy beer.
Which is
modernmethodsbrew.com. You'll have to click through a little Are You a 21 thing and then go up on the top right and just go to ordering. That'll take you to every up-to-date inventory. You're able to find everything that we have. We're working on delivery on that. So right now we're doing delivery to the Youngstown, Warren area and Cleveland. Talked about maybe adding Akron, adding some other closer metros. But we're also working on UPS shipping. So we've got they've got a program that we can basically you can buy a case of beer, throw on $18 for shipping, and you'll have that in 2 days. Where beer might get a little bit warm, but it's not going to compromise the beer.
Yeah, you can throw it right in the fridge when you get it. So let me ask you a question. My good friend Eric Murphy's out in LA. Mm-hmm. He wants to order some Modern Methods brew after listening to the podcast. Mm-hmm. He can go onto the website. Not quite yet, but you're working on it.
But soon.
Yes. and he can buy himself a case of beer and ship it across country.
Damn, Jim, you built that up like the launch was about to happen.
Well,
right
it's
now.
and it might. Just
might.
similar to Panthertown.
Yeah, we're just waiting on some info from our shipping partners. So maybe by next week when this thing drops.
Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, listeners, lovers, and friends,
Get your car washed.
we want to thank you for listening. We want to thank Adam for coming and bringing beer. Thankfully, there's a few left over. We're going to drink when we sign off. But if you are a beer drinker and you are in the greater Warren Youngstown area,
Or know a beer drinker.
or you know a beer drinker in the Youngstown, Warren area, or Cleveland, or Akron, or potentially by the time this thing drops and you can ship it,
Nationwide, baby.
do yourself a favor and get yourself some Modern Methods Brewery beer. Darlene, Dub City IPA, Roast Beast. Unfortunately, there's no Sweet Fart left. And the name's funny, but I'm telling you, this is one of the best beers I've ever drank. I keep wanting to say drunk. This is one of the best beers I've ever drank. It's fantastic. And soon to be released, Panthertown, Warren's own Modern Methods Brewery. Adam's been a big part of the renaissance and rebirth of downtown Warren, and so I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for your time and coming and talking to us today. Brandon, thank you.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you for being a sponsor. I want you guys, before we sign off, to go on to theprodcast.net. Like us on Facebook, where we'll have updates about Modern Methods Brewery and other sponsors, and sign up for the giveaways so that you can maybe win a free car wash. And when we get off of the show, maybe we'll work on potentially some free beer giveaway. I don't know, but you got to be
We're going to
20.
work on some social distancing.
You got to be 21.
While
We
socially.
could do merch.
Is there
legally.
some
Merch.
Do some
We can-
merch.
social,
There we go. Maybe we
social
can
distancing socially? Is that what it would be? Is that what we're doing right now? Social distancing socially?
I'm not sure where you're going with that.
We've
but
had some beers,
yes.
guys.
Yeah. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening. Be on the lookout for Modern Methods' newest release, Panthertown, coming to a store near you, coming maybe to shipping near you, and certainly in Dave Grohl Alley in downtown Warren, Ohio. Order online, modernmethodsbrew.com, and come and pick up your beer. Until the next time, stay safe, stay electrified, and social distance. Thank you guys. Take care.